feel like I don't have an interesting thought on like any of the books I read in December. Hey, welcome back to my channel, Endless Pages. I'm Liv. Welcome to my December reading wrap up. The theme of this video is head empty, no thoughts. I feel like I don't have a single interesting or constructive thing to say about anything I read in December. I feel like this is going to be a really shitty video. I have attempted to film this once and it turned out awful. I like deleted the footage. I was like, I can't watch this. This is maybe one of the worst videos I've ever filmed. So I'm really sorry. I'm just going to apologize in advance. I'm sorry. So I read about, I don't know if I'm counting correctly, about 17 books in December, which is awesome, which meant that I completed my reading goal of 65 books. If you haven't already, I did a reading vlog where I scrambled in the last day and a bit of the year to complete my reading goal. I'll pop it up here. I think it's here. If you want to watch that. I really had fun filming that video. So if you want to see that, which means I'm not going to go on and on about some of the books that I've read because I talked about them a lot in the reading vlog, but yes. Started off the month with C5 by Natalie C. Parker. This is about a girl called Caledonia. She has her ship of like an she's like the captain of the ship that is an all-female crew, and there's this evil warlord called Arik, who, yeah, kind of ravages everyone, and he has this little crew of boys that are called Bullets. What even happens in this book? I can't remember. Oh yeah, so the reason she has like a all-female crew is they're all like victims and they've all like lost people they love or their family to Arik and his crew. And then one day in an attack, Caledonia's like second in command and her best friend is injured during kind of a battle with the Bullets, and one of these Bullets kind of like helps rescue her. And kind of claims that he wants to desert. So Caledonia kind of has to figure out, is it worth the risk of using this bullet to help take down Arik, or is he there to, like, you know, fuck him over? Oh, I knew this video was gonna be bad. Yeah, so she has to kind of figure out what she's going to do about this bullet and whether or not she can trust him. So yeah, I really liked this book. What did I rate it? I didn't even check what I rated these books before I started this. I told you it was not gonna go well. I think this book was not greatly written. Like, the writing style was not at all very special or like beautiful or descriptive. Like, it seemed to me like really basic writing, and I'm aware that this is just like full of typical plots, and it was predictable, and well, I mean, there was one twist at the end that caught me by surprise, which I liked, but yeah, it was predictable and like nothing incredible, but I still really enjoyed it. Like, I really enjoyed it, and I feel bad, like silly for enjoying it because I know it wasn't great, but at the same time I'm like, if I enjoyed it, I enjoyed it. I feel like, I don't know, I feel like it was fun. And if you're gonna read this, don't go in expecting any amazing, I don't know, descriptive plot, because that's not what it is. It's very basic plot, very basic writing. But I still loved it. I loved the like kind of enemies to lovers. I loved how it dealt with the Bullet and his kind of trauma, and how it dealt with all the different characters' trauma, and I liked I guess the plot line of this all-female crew supporting and lifting each other up. It ended on such a cliffhanger as well, so I know I'm gonna go buy the next book. I gave this 3 stars. Again, writing not so great, but I still loved it anyway. Yeah, first book. The second book I read, If You Could See the Sun by Anne Liang. This was kind of a little bit disappointing. This is about a girl who goes to this like boarding school in Beijing, and all the students that go there are kind of China's really rich and powerful, the son of like business people, really wealthy people. And she kind of feels really invisible at this school. She's like on a scholarship and she's not wealthy like all of these other kind of influential kids that go there. And then one day she actually does turn invisible, and she starts to realize that she could use this power to, is this a spoiler? Yeah, use her power to pay the scholarship that her parents can no longer afford for this school. So that's the basic plot. It's kind of academic rivals to lovers. So it was just kind of meh. Like, I don't know what else to say other than it was meh. I think I might like academic rivals to lovers now. Like, I think that was really cute. I was talking to someone I work with, and they read it as well, and they were just saying, like, what I think is a good point. It just had too much miscommunication, and that's very true. I don't like miscommunication. That's like my least favorite trope. I feel like, yeah, our main character within this academic rivals to romance, a lot of stress and annoyance could have been avoided if she just was, like, honest with him, because she made a good point. She was like, the male interest is very honest and open with her, and she's not giving that equal amount of honesty and trust back at the start, so it just causes, like, unnecessary, like, I don't know, angst and issues. So that was a little bit frustrating, and the plot was just kind of like, it's kind of boring. Like, it didn't really, like, there was nothing, I don't know, it was not enthralling. Like, it was not fast paced. There was nothing to keep me turning from page to page. Like, there was no, I don't know, I didn't have much interest in this book, and it was so disappointing. Yeah, I don't know, it was meh. It was really disappointing because this was really anticipated for me. Don't get me wrong, I did enjoy it, but I wasn't blown away by it. I wasn't like, oh my god, I need to tell everyone to read this book. It was just like a really average read for me. So I'm thinking 3.5, I don't know. Next up, I read this graphic novel. This is called The Girl from the Sea, and this is by Molly Knox Ostertag. It's like a middle grade graphic novel. This was adorable. This is about a girl who lives on this little island, and she's holding a secret from her family and her friends, and this secret is that she wants to kiss other girls, and she hasn't got, like, the best home life at the moment. Her parents have just gone through a divorce, and her brother's not really handling that very well, and there's just, you know, a lot of difficulty at home, and she lives on this really isolated island, and she can't wait to get off the island and, you know, go somewhere where she can be herself and start her own life. And she meets this other strange little girl who is a Selkie. So yeah, it's just a little cute romance, and I think that this is bloody adorable. I was about to say animation. The illustrations are gorgeous. I think that this is a really cute story about identity, coming to accept your identity and the challenges of coming out to family and friends and how daunting that can be. I think this is a really important book for middle grade readers to read, because it was just done so beautifully, and it was such a beautiful story about a supportive family, supportive friendship group. Yeah, it was really, really cute. It had a little interesting plot, a bit of an environmental angle as well, which was lovely. Yeah, this was adorable, and I can just imagine the comfort this could bring to people that are struggling with identity at that age. It's bloody adorable. I gave this 4 stars. I had a good time, and I even got teary at the end because I'm a softie. It was really cute. So this next bit is not necessarily going to be in reading order. I'm just grouping all the series together. So in December, I also read Death Note Volume 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. As you can see, towards the end of the year, I was just reading manga like crazy. So yeah, Death Note, I really like the story. Again, if you don't know, it's about this Japanese schoolboy who finds this thing called a Death Note on the ground, and he discovers when he can write in it, that person dies within 30 seconds, and it is, yeah, just a moral story about him, him using the notebook, and yeah, his own sense of justice. Bit of a cat and mouse between our main character and this group of people from the police and someone else, this like private detective kind of person that are trying to catch him. So I rated Death Note Volume 3 and 4 4 stars, but 5 and 6 I rated 4.5. I rated it a little bit higher because it has some of my favorite scenes. I might even push them up to 5 stars. I don't know, maybe just leave it at 4.5, but this is when the tension hits like an all-time high. It's got some of my favorite scenes. There's a car scene. If you've watched the anime or read the novel, you might know what I mean. The tension and pressure in that is like, I remember watching that for the first time and being like, oh my god. So reading it again has that same intensity as the show, which I love, and yeah, I think that's a really great scene. I can't say without major spoilers, but the car scene, and yeah, that's my favourite scene, and that's when where Light's plan really starts to kick in, and I feel like this storyline with, let me just say, memory without spoiling. The memory storyline, it was just bloody genius, and it just makes you appreciate how smart Elle is. Like, he's so smart, and I love watching that cat and mouse between the investigator and our main character. It's really good. So I rated that a bit higher, and then volume 7 I rated back down to 4 stars. Yeah, overall I'm absolutely loving Death Note. I'm kind of getting worried now because there's kind of where I'm up to in volume 7. There is a bit of a change, not in plot, but there is a major shift, which again I can't say without spoilers, and I'm kind of worried that I'm not going to enjoy that as much. It'll still be cat and mouse, but I feel like it's a very big shift to how the first kind of 6 volumes were. But then again, I feel like if this shift didn't happen, then maybe I'd get a bit bored with the storyline. So I'm hoping this shift kind of keeps me engaged in, and I get to see some different dynamics as well. That's all I can say without spoiling, but yeah, I still liked volume 7. Again, another really satisfying moment, but we'll see how I feel continuing on. Next I read The Black Hawks by David Ragg. This is the first book in the Articles of Faith duology. I believe it's a duology, and this was a cover pickup for me, but I'm really glad I picked it up. This is about Shell, and he is bound by an oath to work for his step uncle, and he kind of lives in, I don't know if medieval's the right word, kind of medieval kind of world, and one day his kingdom is thrown into chaos by invaders, and he ends up running into like one of the princes of this kingdom, and they make a deal. If he helps the prince like safely travel away from the invaders, he will get him out of this oath that he doesn't want to be into his uncle anymore. All he has to do is kind of take this prince on this adventure to safety, with the help of the rogue group called the Black Hawks, and they're getting chased across the land by everyone and everything. So this is kind of a bit of a travel story. I was really blown away that I enjoyed this book. Not at all my typical kind of read. Going in, it was very different to how I expected. I thought that he was part of the Black Hawk crew, but he's not. So this is about him kind of finding his place amongst this group, and we start off with him being a bit of a mess, but I really like his character, Shell's character, because you can tell he's a good person and he is a character with really great morals, which is what I absolutely love. Don't get me wrong, I love a morally grey male character, but I really like Shell's character. He had a good heart, and he was really growing as a person across this journey, becoming stronger in his morals and stronger physically, learning from the Black Hawks as well. There was good banter between all of them. I feel like slowly, piece by piece, he was starting to get to know some of them, but I'm looking forward to potentially learning more about them, hopefully, in the sequel. But I don't know, now that I know it's only a duology, like, I haven't got that much left, only 1 book left. Yeah, so yeah, it was a fun dynamic of Shell and this little shit of a prince as well, which was just, yeah, it was just a fun dynamic. As well as the adventure, it started to slowly shift into something a little political as well, which I'm slowly finding that I like as well, like political plots. So there's a whole plot about like the invaders, and they kind of uncover this whole little scheme going on that I won't say without spoiling. There's also a really religious, really interesting religious aspect as well. In this kind of kingdom, this religious sect has a lot of power, and I find that really interesting, and there's a whole political plot going on with them. They have some interesting dynamics and beliefs. So yeah, I really enjoyed this book. Yeah, Shell is a character with great morals, a lot of honor, and I really liked him. Plus, Again, a massive cliffhanger of an ending with the political scheme really, really hitting. So I found like even though this was kind of a slow adventure through wilderness and stuff, it was really fast paced. Because there was like constantly danger, which was really entertaining. So it was constantly super fast paced, page turning, like some cool fight scenes, and yeah, it was really fun. I was constantly, it really kept me engaged. I'm really glad I picked this up. I gave it 4 stars. It left off on a very interesting point, a cliffhanger, so really kept me engaged, and I've already got the sequel waiting to read hopefully soon. Next up, I read Killjoy by Holly Jackson. Okay, this is a prequel to the Good Girls Guide to Murder trilogy. Mwah, chef's kiss, what a trilogy. This was unnecessary. This is kind of like a prequel to how our main character gets the motivations for the investigation she does in the first book of that trilogy, and I feel like it was a waste of time. I didn't like this book because I thought it was really cringy, and I just, yeah, it's mainly about her and her friendship group do this like whodunit like party for one of their friends' birthdays, so I just found it really cringy. I feel like her friendship group is barely in the series, and it's just for a good reason. Like they're boring. I really didn't enjoy this. I found it kind of a waste of paper. That's so mean, I'm sorry. Yeah, it was a waste of time reading this book. I'm really sad that I paid money for this, honestly. I feel like it doesn't give her a good enough motivation for why she chose to do what she did in the like books, why she chose this investigation for her project in the other books. Yeah, it was boring, it was cringy, and I hated every second of it. That's all I've got to say. I gave it this 3 stars. That's generous. No, 2 stars. I'm changing that literally right now. I'm too generous of a reviewer. 2 stars. Why? Why was this made? What was the point? What was the point of this? Next up, I read The Promised Neverland by Kaoru Shirai. This is the first book in the Promised Neverland series. It's a manga about these 3 kids that go to this orphanage, and they're like the smartest and eldest at this orphanage, and they have a pretty good life, and then one day they discover this really dark, twisted secret about what the outside world is really like. And yeah, so it starts off really sweet and innocent, and it takes this really dark turn. I found this super interesting. I knew what the twist was going to be because I've watched some of the anime, but really intriguing. This is really dark and messed up, and I don't have much to say about it. My brain's not coming up with any thoughts, but it was good. It was good. I really enjoyed it. I liked the scene where they discover the twist. That was really like messed up. I liked the illustrations and the facial expressions, just the horror on their faces. I feel like it was a good intro to the story. Our characters have kind of figured out a dark secret, and now they're starting to plan and plot. And yeah, not much happens, so I feel like the story is only just getting started. I'm hoping the sequel is a bit more fast-paced and some shit starts to happen, but yeah. Interesting story, really interesting kind of bad villain kind of character. I'm excited to get a bit more backstory as well. Next up, I read Saga Volume 3 by Brian K. Vaughan, the graphic novel series about 2 people on this opposite side of this war who risk it all by bringing a child into the world. I absolutely love having that child as the narrator. It's beautiful. The writing in this is beautiful, and it's the child reflecting back on their parents' story, which is just, yeah, it's really nicely written. Again, I've learned not to emotionally connect to any of the characters because this book is absolutely devastating emotionally. The only issue I had with this book was there were some words that I found unnecessary in this book, some like derogatory words that I feel like didn't have a purpose being there. They shouldn't be there anyway, but they just made no sense to use those words. They're nasty words. Why include them? I don't know. That was like my big issue, and I was like, oh, that was unnecessary. Don't put those words in there. Just kind of nasty to see. Overall, I gave Saga Volume 3 4 stars, so yeah, really good. Next up is a 5-star read. If you want to go see all of my 5-star reads in 2022, I made a little favorites video if you want to check it out there. This is featured in that video, Fruits Basket Volume 1. This is by Natsuki Takaya. Holy crap, this manga is so good. Okay, so Fruits Baskets is about our main character, as you can see here, and she because of circumstances ends up living in a tent by herself, and she doesn't realize she's on this family's land, and they find her and they're like, come move in with us, and she discovers that when they are hugged by the opposite member of sex, they turn into the animals in the Chinese zodiac. So yeah, it's about her living with this some of the members of the Chinese zodiac. This book is beautiful. Like, I got teary on most pages. Holy crap. Our main character Toru is one of the most beautiful characters I've ever read. Her whole kind of personality is that she is just the most selfless, beautiful characters, and I love reading from her perspective because she has such beautiful thoughts. She is so caring, so protective, and so nurturing towards those that she loves, and she really wants to get to know them on such a deep level. She really cares about them. She wants them to be happy. She wants them to grow, and because she's such a beautiful person, she really brings out the best in everyone around her. Like, everyone around her is so protective of her because they just appreciate how selfless she is. Our main character, this is not a spoiler, her mum died, and she had quite a beautiful close relationship with her mum, so a lot of how she is, she learnt from her mum, so she has this beautiful strong connection to her mum who she seems to draw strength and I guess motivation from, and kind of knowledge and guidance from, so that's absolutely beautiful. And yeah, this is freaking adorable. I cannot believe how obsessed I am with this story. Like, it's so moving. This is now definitely a comfort read. It is so wholesome. At least the first volume is. I believe it gets quite sad, but the first volume is so wholesome, and it's just so nice to read such a beautiful story about people that really care about each other and want the best from each other. And her character is so thoughtless. No, her character is so selfless, I meant to say. She's the opposite of thoughtless, and she's so pure and gorgeous, and I want to be like her. I aspire to be like Toru. She's so hardworking and just not a selfish bone in her body. Like, she's so hardworking, so good-natured, and yeah, the people around her just kind of are always blown away by that side of her and just continue to be surprised by her selfishness. Oh my god, I keep saying that, selflessness, as it reaches new and new heights. So this was a 5-star read. Absolutely beautiful. My favorite character ever. And everyone needs to read this manga because Merp was right. It was beautiful. Next up, I read The Agathas by Kathleen Glasgow and Liz Lawson. I won't talk about this too much because I talk about it in my reading blog that I mentioned earlier, but really badly written. These two young female authors don't seem to know what a teenager talks like. I feel like, personally, it was really unrealistic. I've never heard a teenager talk like that. The investigation was boring. They barely did any investigating and seemed to ruin the lives of all these adults in the town just because they got bad vibes off them. I know it's hypocritical of me to say that these two dumbass teenagers could solve this major crime when I've read something like A Good Girl's Guide to Murder and loved it. So it's a bit hypocritical, but I really wanted to DNF it, but I couldn't because I needed it to reach my reading goal. So if I hadn't have been trying to reach my reading goal last minute, I definitely would have DNF'd this book. What did I give it? I think I gave it 2 stars. It was just really badly written. It was like they've never done any research into how there was a scene with like a police conference that, like, I've never heard any conference like that before. It was just really poorly done, and they seem to fuck with some like really bad people and with no consequence. Yeah, I don't know. It was bad. I gave it 2 stars. Then I read The Heartstoppers Yearbook by Alice Oseman. Again, I won't talk about this for too long because it's in my reading blog, but I feel like this is really controversial to say, but I feel like this was a bit of a money grab. Like, I understand that Heartstopper is technically like middle grade, it's meant for a younger kind of audience, but I still love Heartstopper, and there was no point in reading any of those books where I was like, oh, I'm too old to read this. This, I cannot, like, the intended audience seems like 10-year-olds. Like, I feel like this is written for a 10-year-old in that really basic, like, I don't know, like quizzes that you would get in like a preteen magazine for like what character you're more like. And I just feel like a lot of the information in here I could Google and find out. I feel a little bit scammed that I paid money for this. Like, there was some cute, like, I don't know, illustrations of the characters and costumes I've never seen before, but I feel like this is all filled with basic information, or information that was just online or in the graphic novels themselves. I feel like I got scammed, and yeah, who's the intended audience? Like 10-year-olds? I'm very confused, and I feel really bad saying this because I absolutely adore the Heartstopper series, but waste of money. It feels like I don't know, whoever publishes Heartstopper went to Alice and were like, we need you to publish this, write it quickly. Like, I don't know, it feels like maybe something the publishing company made her do. I don't know, it was bad. I rated this like 2 stars as well, like, very confused at why this exists, which is really disappointing. Hey, Editing Liv here. I know this video is already long enough, but I need to expand upon my review of the Heartstopper yearbook. I wasn't quite clear enough. I promise I'll try and be as concise as I can, just because I know this video is probably, I think, already at the 30-minute mark, whatever. So, yeah, I did a review of this book, and I was like, I'm umming whether to leave it in, because I was aware that there was people on Goodreads that were purposely giving this book shitty reviews purely out of homophobia, and I just didn't want to add to the bad reviews of it, even though my reasons were different. But yeah, I was reluctant, and then I got talking to like Paige, Erin and Lana and Ash and stuff about leaving this negative review in, and how I said I thought it felt like a bit of a money grab, something didn't sit right with me about it, and they really educated me about this whole why I think it's money grab thing, about the issues in the publishing industry around publishing queer stories just for the sake of it, I guess, being trendy, and they want to, because the Heartstopper yearbook, because the Heartstopper show, I should say, is gotten so popular on Netflix, yeah, and exploiting this story because it's gotten so popular, and publishing these stories only when it's trendy or when it works for them, which is obviously so sad. Yeah, and basically exploiting queer stories when it's trendy for them, when it's going to make them money. And that's why I think it kind of connects back to what I said about how I felt like it was maybe the publishing company pushing her to do this, which is so sad to think that an author that writes such an important story is being potentially forced to do this and exploit her characters and her story just because the publishing company wants to make a quick buck, and that's really frustrating. So yeah, that's why I was so annoyed by this book as well, is because Heartstopper is one of my favourite stories. It's one of my favourite series, and I feel like it's so important to so many people in the LGBTQIA+ community and queer people, because yeah, I feel like it's such an important book, and it shows a healthy friend group, and it's a beautiful, moving story about helping young kids come to terms with their identity, and I feel like this story would be so important to so many queer kids. So it's really frustrating to see this happen. I just wanted to clarify a little bit. I hope I've said that clearly. Probably not, knowing me, but yeah. Finally, to finish up the month, I read Blue Exorcist Volume 2, Blue Exorcist Volume 3. Again, this is in my reading vlog, so I won't go on about it too much. A boy finds out he is the son of Satan. He goes to Blue Cross Academy to learn to fight and kill Satan. Volume 2, the plot really kicks off with him at this academy. I really like Volume 2. I gave this one 4 stars because I feel like it had a bit of a cute found family vibe. This the main character, Rin, and his class kind of go on like the kind of like a mission, like a little task thing, which I found really cute, and I just like the dynamics of all the characters. Volume 3 I pushed down to 3.5 stars. I didn't find it as engaging and fast-paced as Volume 2, but in saying that, there was kind of a kickoff with the like overarching plot. There was a little bit of scheming and we found out about some new players, so that was kind of entertaining as well. So not a bad read, but I've just really loved volume 2 more because of kind of the found family vibes that I was getting, and I'm a sucker for found family. To finish off this video, I'm just going to read you my Goodreads stats. I don't do any of my stat tracking, and I also know Storygraph do maybe some better tracking and some better stats. Let me know. I'm thinking of starting a Storygraph, so please let me know if I should start one. Okay, as I said, in 2022 I read 65 books, which equates to about 21,207 pages according to Goodreads. My shortest book was Galatea by Madeline Miller, 4-star read, so good. My longest was Dragon Republic with 658 pages. My average book length was 326 pages. The book I read that was most shelved on Goodreads was Fahrenheit 451, and least shelved was The Gaps by Leanne Hoare, which doesn't surprise me. This is like an indie Australian book. Still really enjoyed that though. My average rating was 4 stars. No surprise there. The highest rated book I read on Goodreads was this kid's book I read called Maybe that my mum got me, which just, yeah, that's quite funny to me. And yeah, that's all the stats. Thank you so much for watching. I'm so sorry. Again, I feel like this is one of the worst wrap-ups I've ever done. I'm gonna try and blame the heat, but again, this is my second attempt at filming this, so it's probably not the heat, it's probably just my brain, but whatever. Let me know in the comments what was the least favourite book you read in December. I'll pop that reading vlog I talked about in the description as well, in case you want to watch that, in case you haven't already. And as always, all my social media links are in the description as well, and I will see you in whatever the hell I post next. Bye!